The story kicks off with our protagonist revealing he died, all thanks to a goddess's mistake. As compensation, she offers him the chance to be reborn in an entirely different world. The catch? He's already picked the abilities he wants, but at the cost of losing every memory of his previous life. After a blinding flash of light, our hero, now known as Kelvin, lands in this strange new world confused, disoriented, and completely blank on his past. Suddenly, a floating screen pops up in front of him. When he presses the start button, the goddess explains he's been reincarnated into a universe filled with magic and swordplay. And yes, he's kept the skills he chose before. Following her instructions, Kelvin opens up his stat menu and gets hyped when he realizes he's going to live the life of a summoner. The goddess tells him his next step: head to the nearest city and register with the Adventurers Guild. While trekking through the forest, Kelvin asks if the screen will stick with him on his journey. The answer is yes. Her name is Melfina, and she's bound to him as his servant. Kelvin eventually arrives at the city of Par, where he learns it was actually another god who accidentally caused his death. As he explores, Melfina shares more about his past life. Catching his reflection in a window, Kelvin is pleased with his new appearance. She reminds him he willingly gave up his memories in exchange for more skill points, and drops a bomb. In his past life, he was in love with her. Intrigued, Kelvin asks if he can summon her, but Melfina says he doesn't have enough magic yet. At the guild, he sees adventurers hunting for jobs and begins his registration. He can speak and write the language perfectly, but before finishing the paperwork, Melfina warns him never reveal he's a summoner. That class is incredibly rare, and rulers might target him. Playing it safe, Kelvin registers as a green mage instead. The receptionist hands him an F-rank membership card, the lowest tier, and explains that climbing the ranks requires completing missions, with exams starting from rank C onward. Kelvin searches for F-rank jobs, and Melfina suggests hunting blue slimes. Spending almost all his money, he buys a magic staff and heads to the slime's habitat. Using his appraisal eye skill, he gathers intel on his targets. Melfina explains that to summon a creature, he must weaken it first. Kelvin faces off against a slime, finding it tougher than expected. Still, he manages to weaken it enough to attempt the summoning pact. The process drains half his mana regardless of success, but fortunately, the pact works perfectly. He names his new summon Clotho, and quickly realizes he can sense its emotions right now. Clotho is happy. Calling it out again, the two team up, cutting down the remaining slimes with perfect synergy. Kelvin is blown away by Clotho's power, and Melfina explains why. Thanks to Kelvin's S-rank summoner class, Clotho got a +100 boost to all stats, making it insanely strong. She also reminds him he's the only S-rank summoner in the entire world. After completing his first quest, Kelvin strolls through town with his earnings, looking for a recommended inn. On the way, he notices a slave trader escorting a sorrowful elf, which catches his attention. Shaking it off, he continues to the Spiritual Song Inn, where the hostess, Claire, greets him warmly. Once in his room, Kelvin complains there's no bath. Melfina explains that's a luxury only the wealthy can afford. Amused, Kelvin makes a personal vow. One day, he'll live in a place with a proper bath. After resting and grabbing a meal, he notes that, thanks to his double EXP skill, both he and Clotho have leveled up. He uses this advantage to learn the D-rank stealth skill, aiming to raise it to B rank to keep a low profile. When Kelvin arrives at the guild, Angel congratulates him for reaching E rank and is shocked he hasn't joined a party yet. Kelvin, knowing that teaming up could expose his identity as a summoner, chooses to work solo. Still, other adventurers are starting to notice his rapid rise. Anne even suspects he might be a former court mage who messed up in another country. Kelvin just shrugs it off, saying he can't talk about his past, and requests a D-rank job. That's when Kachel, a smug D-rank adventurer, interrupts. He suggests Kelvin take on the Ghost Knight, a mission that's anything but safe. With an arrogant grin, Kachel congratulates Kelvin on his promotion, while boasting about his own experience. When Kelvin ignores him and asks who he even is, Kachel introduces himself, prompting others to whisper about his B-rank level strength and his nasty habit of crushing rookies. Unbothered by the chatter, Kachel invites Kelvin to join his group for the Ghost Knight hunt. Angel warns that the night is far too dangerous, but Kelvin isn't swayed and rejects the offer outright. Using his appraisal eye, Kelvin checks Kachel's status and spots a chilling title: Assassin. That's all he needs to throw down a challenge. Whoever takes down the Ghost Knight first wins. Kachel accepts, and they split up. Kelvin, pleased to have baited him, watches Kachel's party from a distance. Meanwhile, Kachel meets with his teammate, who has a C-rank appraisal eye. Even he can't fully read Kelvin's stats, meaning Kelvin is stronger than he looks. Rak, another party member, suggests fighting Kelvin like they've done with other newbies, but Kachel refuses, explaining the challenge. This excites Rak and Gimmel, both eager to face him. Cut to the Castle of Evil Spirits. Kachel's group arrives only to find every monster already dead. Stunned, they realize this might be Kelvin's doing. And then, Kelvin appears. Despite their mocking, he calls them out for planning an ambush. Gimel, uneasy, asks if Kelvin's a bounty hunter, but Kelvin, unaware their wanted, wishes them luck, while deliberately provoking them. Rack takes the bait and is instantly trapped and defeated. Meanwhile, Clotho, now evolved into a gluttonous slime, takes on Gimel, who tries to flee. Kelvin recalls how Clotho evolved and marvels at its power as it quickly subdues him. Even when Rack breaks free, he's crushed by Clotho in seconds. Kachel charges at Kelvin, but Kelvin takes him down with ease, leaving him battered. After the fight, Kelvin pieces it together. Kachel's crew weren't hunting monsters, they were preying on adventurers to level up faster. Furious, Kelvin tells them they'll be dragged back to the guild to face justice. Then he heads to confront the Ghost Knight Gerard, but instead of attacking, Kelvin introduces himself and offers a summoning pact. Intrigued, Gerard shares his tragic story. His homeland, Alcar, was destroyed by an elven nation, forcing him to flee to protect his daughter, Connie. He agrees to consider the pact, but first, he wants to see Kelvin's strength. Their battle is intense, each surprised by the other's power. Gerard begins to respect Kelvin, wondering if he's found someone worthy of his loyalty. Kelvin, thrilled by Gerard's might, hopes to make him an ally. As the fight escalates, Gerard's resolve hardens, fueled by his desire for revenge. Kelvin and Clotho push themselves to the limit, and after a fierce struggle, they finally bring him down. The next day, Kelvin returns to the guild for his reward. Cheers erupt. Not only did he handle the Ghost Knight, but he also brought down Kachel's gang, who are now under arrest. During the celebration, Anyu approaches with big news. Kelvin's getting a special promotion, and the guildmaster himself wants to thank him. When Kelvin meets the guildmaster, Leo, the man reveals he suspects Kelvin is from another world. Using his appraisal eye, Kelvin examines Leo and is stunned by the immense power he sees. Could Leo know he's a summoner? While Kelvin ponders, Melfina advises him to stay calm and focus on finding trustworthy allies. Kelvin takes her advice, even complimenting Leo before asking why Kachel's group wasn't stopped earlier. Leo explains. Kachel is a noble from Trissan, a militaristic nation, and without proof the guild couldn't act. Leo admits he's relieved Kelvin handled Kachel without him having to step in. Kelvin cuts to the chase. What does he really want? Leo assures him he's not an enemy, but a potential ally. He's met others from another world before, and some of them are the heroes of the Holy Empire of Daramus. That instantly makes Melfina remember she's the one who reincarnated them. Leo continues. The priestess of Daramus has prophesied the Demon King's return, and monsters across every continent are growing more violent. He asks Kelvin to protect the people, since there aren't enough adventurers strong enough to face what's coming. In return, he offers higher pay and the freedom to take on high-rank missions. Kelvin, intrigued but cautious, questions Leo's motives. Leo promises that if Kelvin accepts, he'll shield him from political nobles and help him rise to the top before others force him into their agendas. Seeing no better option, Kelvin agrees. Later, back at the inn, Claire congratulates him on reaching B rank and promises him a special celebration. Over lunch in his room, Kelvin asks Melfina to tell him more about the other heroes she reincarnated. She explains she chose powerful, attractive individuals, but warns him not to get involved since the Demon King has nothing to do with his current mission. Kelvin, however, gets fired up at the thought of facing heroes, and especially the Demon King. While preparing, Kelvin tells Clotho to bring him his quest reward. Then, on the way to shop, he reveals he's interested in buying a slave. His summons are shocked, but he explains to Gerard that he wants to strengthen his party after seeing a slave before, and that he'll need all the power he can get to face enemies like Gerard. At the slave market, Kelvin finds a half-elf cursed with a deadly affliction. Using his appraisal eye, he discovers all her skill points are untouched a gold mine. After asking Melfina how to break the curse, he returns and purchases her, surprising the slaver with his willingness to take the risk. Once freed, the elf introduces herself as Alif and thanks Kelvin for his kindness. Hearing her tragic story, sold into slavery because of her curse, Kelvin uses his remaining points to learn the blessing skill, lifting her curse completely. Overwhelmed, Elif breaks down in tears, relieved she will never hurt anyone again. That night at the inn, Kelvin asks Claire to get Elif new clothes. Claire, annoyed but quick to act, says a girl that pretty can't be dressed in rags. She takes Elif for a bath, and when she returns, Kelvin is floored by her beauty. Nervous but grateful, Elif reveals her full name, Lilia Phil. During dinner, Kelvin introduces her to his summons, warning her to keep it a secret. He shows her his skills, and even lets her choose some of her own, wanting her to have agency in her future. Everything seems fine, until they realize there's only one bed left, forcing them to share it. A month later, deep in the dark purple forest, Kelvin narrates how Lilia has been training and leveling up, spending her points on clairvoyance and sewing, even crafting her own combat-made outfit. She unleashes a devastating bow attack, and Kelvin praises her incredible growth. Back at the guild, the receptionist tells Kelvin that if he completes a few more jobs, he can take the A-rank exam. Lilia is thrilled she's already reached C rank, and Kelvin congratulates her, recalling the hilarious moment when she accidentally shot an arrow into her examiner's head during the last rank test. Later, the receptionist tells Lilia about a new candy shop and invites her to go with Kelvin tagging along. Only then does he realize he's just agreed to a double date. Panic sets in, remembering that if Melfina were here, she'd scold him endlessly, but Melfina is away, claiming she had an oracle to perform. When Lilia arrives, she stuns the room with her beauty. At the cafe, she acts like a proper maid, making Kelvin squirm and beg her to stop. The receptionist, amused, starts imitating her, pushing Kelvin over the edge as customers begin whispering about a possible love triangle. And right in the middle of the chaos, a noble named Tabra, furious, decides to attack their table. Demanding that commoners know their place and never do such things in public, Tabra's guards try to force Kelvin to kneel. But Kelvin wipes the floor with them using his power, leaving the arrogant noble trembling in fear. Under pressure, Tabra admits he's in town to meet Leo, the guildmaster, after hearing rumors about a powerful adventurer in the area. Kelvin drops the bomb he's that adventurer. The prince immediately demands Kelvin serve him, but our MC rejects him without a second thought. Meanwhile, in the sacred empire of Daramas Cathedral, Priestess Kole summons Melfina. She appears, asking about the heroes. Kole assures her they're alive and progressing well. Relieved, Melfina delivers her oracle. A dark presence lurks in the western continent, and the heroes must be sent there, but under no circumstances should they approach Par. Kole agrees and spreads the warning to every hero. That night, Ethel thanks Kelvin for saving her and awkwardly apologizes for having slept beside him. Kelvin reassures her it's not that he doesn't find her attractive, but she deserves the choice of who to share her intimacy with. Overwhelmed, Ethel admits she sees him not just as a mentor, but as the man she loves. Moved, Kelvin calls her the prettiest girl he's ever met, and they share an emotional embrace. The next day, Kelvin reviews hero intel with Yera. While Ethel and the others think the heroes aren't that strong due to their low levels, Kelvin knows the real threats haven't even begun. He complains, expecting the heroes to be at least level 100, and is shocked they're nowhere near it. Melfina shares his disappointment, doubting they can take down the Demon King. Their discussion is cut short when Claire delivers a guild call. Leo reports a demon has appeared in a secret dungeon inside a D-rank hermit's cave. Though the adventurers who found it survived, the demon was sealed, and Leo suspects it could be S-rank. Kelvin hesitates, but Leo slyly mentions that some thug attacked the Prince of Trazyn, something that could spark conflict. That's enough to push Kelvin into accepting the mission. Inside the cave, Kelvin and his team run into Instructor who set up a barrier to monitor the area. Kelvin orders him to keep watch while they press deeper. Something feels wrong, and as they reach a sealed door, Kelvin senses two life forms behind it. Inside, they find a demon still sealed, but the real enemy is Archdemon Victor. He reveals that the girl present is the secret daughter of Demon King Gustav, hidden away from the world. Victor's trap is already sprung. He wants Kelvin to break the seal so he can devour the demon and steal its power, becoming the next Demon King. Thrilled by Victor's strength, Kelvin prepares to fight. The Archdemon summons an undead army from Hades, but Kelvin's party annihilates them. Impressed, Victor lunges in, using smoke as cover. Kelvin predicts some moves, but Victor proves dangerous, smashing Gerard and shocking Kelvin with his armor's defense. The battle escalates. Even combined strikes from Kelvin and Gerard can't bring him down, until Ethel lands a fiery shot that forces Victor to sacrifice an arm. Gerard capitalizes, severing the other. Badly wounded, Victor grins, finally excited, and unleashes his true power with a devastating spell. Kelvin orders an all-out strike, but they're too late. Victor's counterattack hits hard. Gerard uses everything to shield the team, but is overwhelmed. Just when it looks grim, Effie rushes in to back them up. Confident, Kelvin commands Clotho to unleash every cursed weapon he's crafted. The combined assault finally overwhelms Victor. In his last moments, he shields the Demon King's daughter, sacrificing himself. Kelvin confronts him about his lie, and Victor admits he only said it to make Kelvin fight at full strength. He recalls how Gustav entrusted him with the girl Sarah. In a flashback, we see Victor training her, until a hero stormed Gustav's mansion. To protect his daughter, Gustav sealed her away. Since Victor believed humans were far too weak to ever pose a real threat, he decided they should be the only ones capable of freeing her. After Gustav's death, his magic sent Zara to a distant land for her safety. The plan was simple: awaken her in an age of peace, where she could become the new demon queen. Accepting his failure, Victor begs our protagonist to let Zera join his party and break the chains that keep her sealed. Kelvin agrees and awakens her. But Zera immediately questions why her own father and Victor decided to lock her away. Afterward, Kelvin returns to and tells him they've taken care of the demon. Intrigued by the mysterious girl on Kelvin's back, asks who she is. Kelvin explains she's someone who was possessed by a demon when she was sealed. To hide Zera's wings and horns, he's using a hairpin and camouflage crafted by Gustav. Later, we see Gerard acting strangely. Melfina tells Kelvin it's because he's about to evolve into a terrifying S-rank monster. Cut to Kelvin approaching Zera, who's now calmer. She asks if he really wants the Demon King's daughter as his servant, worried she might bring him trouble. Kelvin reassures her that his S-rank camouflage skill will keep her safe. She's shocked to learn he defeated Victor and asks if he's the hero. He grins and says no, just an adventurer who loves to fight. He invites her to the city, but since Zera has never left the mansion, she's terrified. With some encouragement from the others, they finally arrive at the city of Par, and Zera is blown away. Kelvin sends Ethel to take her to the inn while he heads to the guild to report in. Not long after, Kelvin finally achieves A rank. When he returns to the inn, he's greeted with a surprise party. During the celebration, he learns is married to Claire. But later that night, Kelvin notices Sarah is missing. He finds her outside, lost in memories of her time with Victor and wondering about her future. The next day, Kelvin is overjoyed he's reached S rank in blacksmithing, just like Phil in tailoring. He proudly shows his friends his new creations, the rhotic weapon for Zegna and the magic sword Inislave for Gerard, both of whom are deeply grateful. When Sarah asks what weapon Kelvin will use, he simply says he'll decide when the time comes. Ethel offers to cook, but Kelvin only wants rice, leaving everyone baffled. While traveling to Torag, Zera is thrilled by the new experiences along the way. Kelvin tells Ethel that besides keeping his promise to show Zera the world, he also wants to visit Torag for its famous rice. He's surprised Leo let him go without making a fuss, and notes that Melfina is still on vacation, training her avatars. Along the road, Kelvin senses they're being watched, but brushes it off. Suddenly, a girl blocks the path, claiming to be from the Darkwind bandit gang. The driver panics, but when Kelvin checks their stats, he's disappointed at how weak they are. He orders Sarah to handle them. The bandits mock her big mistake. Sarah crushes them with ease, complaining she was holding back too much. Their leader refuses to admit defeat, convinced she can still win. Then Hilda, a man with over 200 strength, charges at Zera. She stops him effortlessly, sending fear down the leader's spine until she surrenders. Still, the bandit warns them that her boss is level 70. Kelvin's interest is piqued, and he asks for more info. They finally reach a country that feels like ancient Japan. Zera and Ethel are awestruck when they see the ocean for the first time, and Zera asks Kelvin to teach her to swim. He agrees, but regrets they had to waste time catching the bandits instead of enjoying the beach. Later, they turn the bandits over to the guild, who thank them for capturing a gang leader. Mix, the guild master, reveals Leo had spoken about them and that they were in the same party 20 years ago. Kelvin denies it and asks about Darkwind. Mix is surprised to hear they've replaced the previous gang, and Kelvin suspects their leader is Christo, a famed warrior from Tracen now dealing in slave trafficking. Zera is furious, saying they could take him down if they knew where he was. Mix explains Christo is in Torok and is considered a national hero there. Killing him could spark war between Torok and Tracen. Kelvin tries to calm Zera, mocking that Christo is only level 70. But deep down, he's annoyed he has to get involved. He then asks Zera if she can identify 4 powerful adventurers. After getting a yes to his plan, our MC assures everyone the heroes will deal with Christo and his gang. Elsewhere, Mitz tells Toya he needs help handling local bandits. Toya considers it, but his companions stop him, reminding him that a true hero's duty lies elsewhere. Meanwhile, Hob, a guard, is casually cleaning his knife and picking a slave girl named Luca, only to be interrupted by our MC and his crew. The moment Hob recognizes the warriors who took down Karna, he plans to strike only for Gerard to crush him instantly. Christo gets scolded for disturbing Prizra's rest and learns Hob's been defeated news. Prizra hates, fearing it'll attract foreign attention. Moments later, Hob stumbles in, beaten to a pulp. That's when our MC barges in with his team, shocking the bandits. They demand to know who they are, and our MC starts probing about Christo without realizing he's speaking to him face to face. A bandit recognizes them as Karna's killers and gets hyped for a fight, but our MC brushes him off as nothing more than a warm-up. Cut to the heroes infiltrating the bandits' hideout. One hero is puzzled by the empty halls, so Toya asks Setsuna to use her sensing skills. She picks up a crowd ahead, and Toya charges in. Certain the captives are there, they arrive at a door. What's behind it? A giant sleigh named Clodo. who they think is a kidnapper. Toya readies his holy sword, but Luca stops him, explaining Cloto is the pet of the man who saved her. Nana learns they were actually told to guard the prisoners, stunning the heroes. Later, the heroes rush to find the Rangua adventurers after Luca's mother warns them of more powerful bandit leaders nearby. But when they arrive, Cristo and his entire crew are already wiped out. They think they're too late. That's when they hear a noise in the next room and find our MC waiting. Kelvin smirks, mocking them for begging for their lives earlier. The heroes introduce themselves, declaring their mission to protect the people. Our MC just laughs, telling them they should get stronger first. He taunts Toya, proposing a 4 versus 1 battle loser grants the winner any wish. Toya hesitates, thinking it's cowardly, and instead offers a one-on-one duel. But Setsuna suspects a trap and pushes for a group fight. Miyabi backs her, saying the villain's magic feels overwhelming. Toya agrees. They're transported to a more comfortable arena. Our MC grins his plan is going perfectly, and even sends Eiffel to bring food so they can eat while watching the show. Ethel worries about fighting the heroes alone, but Kelvin says this is perfect training for their group battle skills, then reveals his weapon, the Skill Eater. Meanwhile, the heroes tap into the fairy's blessing for a power boost. Toya strikes first, but Kelvin shocks them by revealing he's not just a mage. Nana summons her moon dragon, but our MC dodges and slips behind Miyabi, stealing her thought-based skills with his weapon. Concerned for Miyabi, the heroes rush to her aid. Toya swings his sword at our MC, but Kelvin blocks it with ease, keeping up the taunts. Toya eventually knocks the weapon from the villain's hands, only for our MC to laugh and reveal he can fight barehanded using a borrowed ability. Setsuna is stunned to see Toya being outclassed and steps in. Our MC changes the terrain, raising stone walls, but Setsuna shatters them with her Sanseku skill. Kelvin can barely contain his excitement. His distraction worked. Our MC blasts Toya with magic, forcing him to shield Setsuna. Toya, convinced he must defeat this villain to save the world, is feeling the pressure until a tearful Setsuna reminds him of the power of teamwork. Realizing she's right, Toya apologizes and sends a fairy to blind the MC, only to learn he can't be detected. The heroes unleash a combo attack, pinning the villain down, but he self-destructs to throw Toya and Setsuna back, wounding them badly. Then he compliments their teamwork and calls on Nana and Miyabi to join the fray. Kelvin keeps correcting the heroes' fighting style, infuriating them until they decide to go all out. Our MC is thrilled by their resolve, but also shuts down Kelvin's next move. Despite Setsuna's best efforts, our MC summons a golem for protection while focusing on a new spell, tapping into his parallel thought skill. Setsuna tries to stop him, but fails, allowing our MC to break free with his freshly crafted magic. Miyabi jumps in with her ogre, but she too is taken down. Nana urges Toya to attack while she defends him, but Kelvin, impressed by her shield, seals her away behind a barrier. That pushes Toya over the edge, who lashes out at Kelvin, accusing him of wasting his power instead of using it for good. Kelvin shuts him down with ease, reminding him that if he truly wants to change the world, he needs to get stronger first. Later, Toya wakes up surrounded by his friends, and upon seeing our MC, tries to attack again only for Kelvin to stop him and reveal the truth. Realizing he was tricked, Toya sincerely apologizes, admitting Kelvin is leagues above his own group. In a comedic twist, Kelvin laughs and declares Toya's punishment for losing is to strip down. Afterwards, Mitch tells our MC he'll handle the rescued captives and interrogate Christo's group currently imprisoned to uncover their ties to Trism. Switching scenes, the heroes face a massive octobeast inside a cavern. Setsuna warns Toya of the monster's building electric charge, prompting our MC to have Nana and Miyabi ready to freeze the water if needed. With perfect coordination, the heroes crush the creature with ease, and our MC decides it's the perfect time for a feast. During dinner, Setsuna explains that dungeon bosses grow stronger as long as the Demon King lives a statement that reminds Toya of something Kolek once said. Curious, our MC asks about her and the day of the summoning. Hearing the story, he realizes they crossed into this world without dying and starts piecing together how it all works. The topic shifts to what they do if faced with an S-rank boss. Toya admits their best bet is to run only for the battle junkie Kelvin to accidentally, and, oh so conveniently, awaken a sinister S-rank dragon. Kelvin challenges Toya. Will they just flee and let innocents suffer? While Zera engages the beast, Toya, mocked as a coward, stands his ground, declaring he won't let his comrades die in vain. He'd rather plan and train until the day they're ready to win. Our MC smiles approvingly, telling him he's passed the test. As the two groups part ways, Kelvin gifts the heroes pendants he crafted, charms that could serve as protective talismans. Toya thanks him, promising they'll be stronger next time. Watching their ship sail away, our MC asks Geralt about the Lycia Empire and if they could be defeated. Geralt, surprised he remembers, says yes if they prepare. Kelvin grins, suggesting they first deal with the monsters in the area. Ethel, having overheard comments on how kind our MC actually is. Kelvin laughs, revealing those pendants also have a secret function. Just then, Sarah arrives with news. A guild messenger is looking for our MC. Kelvin's eyes light up, thinking his rice shipment has arrived, but instead, the king himself has summoned them. They head to the royal castle, where our MC notes its Japanese-style architecture. Gerard explains the first king of Thorak came from another world, which explains the look. Inside, they meet Tsubaki, Thorak's governor, who thanks them for wiping out the bandits and cave boss. She tells them to raise their heads. She's not one for stiff formality and explains that under normal circumstances, they'd hold a grand celebration, but Tracen's situation makes that impossible. Still, she wants to reward them and asks what they desire. Our MC requests permission to buy a special regional harvest, preferring good food over material wealth. Tsubaki laughs, calling him greedy, but grants him as much as he wants, free of charge. She even arranges a small banquet. Kelvin, ecstatic, dives into the rice, shouting with joy at the taste. Everyone enjoys the Japanese-style dishes, and they learn Yera is quite fond of alcohol. Days later, Kelvin praises Phil's cooking, and she reveals the queen gifted her books on Japanese cuisine. At another moment, the queen herself visits our MC's room, curious about Ethel, and asking her to stay at the castle. Nervous from her flirtatious tone, Kelvin explains Ethel isn't interested and that they plan to leave. Tsubaki leans in close, insisting they stay, declaring herself his personal caretaker. Feeling the tension in the air, our protagonist quickly steps back, insisting they need to continue their journey. The queen, understanding, tells them they'll always be welcome in her kingdom and escorts them to a teleportation portal. That's when Kelvin learns his team has official IDs and portal access permits information Leo conveniently forgot to mention, leaving Kelvin more than a little annoyed. Back in Parth, Ethel asks Kelvin about their next target, but he decides it's time for a well-earned break, revealing his plan to buy a house. His friends are stunned by its sheer size. Kelvin tells them to pick their rooms though. When a nervous Ethel requests the one next to his, he flat out refuses. Gerard heads for the basement to train. Clotho claims the yard and asks Kelvin to keep him company, and everyone seems thrilled with their new home. Kelvin slips into the bath, revealing the real reason he bought the place, only to be interrupted by the doorbell. That's how Luke and his mother, along with Ellie, end up joining them. That night, after a relaxing soak, Kelvin feels oddly nostalgic for his old in-bed. Just as he's about to sleep, Melfina contacts him. She's ready to be summoned. Using his magic, he's left in awe of her beauty. The next day, Melfina thanks Phil for the meal and marvels at the mansion. Gerard and Sarah, curious, ask who she is. Melfina introduces herself, explaining she was summoned the night before, sending Kelvin scrambling to clarify she's not his wife. As a reward for summoning her successfully, Melfina grants him her blessing, immunity to 1 fatal blow per month, and the rare ability to summon heroes. During training, Melfina spars with Sarah, while Gerard watches over Luca. Kelvin, still nostalgic, wonders about heroes, prompting Melfina to explain that a demon king appears in cycles, wielding a terrifying skill Malice that multiplies evil and nullifies all damage, making them invincible. To defeat such a foe, heroes from other worlds are needed, each with unique abilities. Kelvin realizes his own attacks might work, but worries about forcing people into hero roles. Melfina offers another route: reincarnation instead of teleportation. Teleportation summons the living. Reincarnation calls forth the soul of the dead. It's riskier, costs more magic, and he only gets 1 shot. In the basement, the group gathers to watch. Kelvin asks if the person can choose how to live, and when Melfina agrees, he drinks a potion from Fee and begins the lengthy spell. At last, he reincarnates a young girl named Ryosa, who faints from joy after hugging him. That night, now renamed Rion, she wakes up and embraces her newfound freedom. Hearing her story, a life once confined by illness, Kelvin invites her to join the party, suggesting they pose as siblings. Later that night, he's startled to find her sleeping in his bed. The next day, in a dark forest, training begins. Rion quickly proves her worth, but danger strikes when a dark wolf appears. Kelvin uses magic to halt it and forges a summoning contract. That's when the UR group arrives. They're there for a rank-up exam. But with no monsters left, Kelvin returns to the city to apologize. UR encourages him to take the S-rank exam. Back home, Rion and Kelvin care for the wolf now named Alex, while Kelvin wrestles with exam nerves. Rion and Phil reassure him it's only his first test. After bathing Alex, Kelvin discovers Rion can communicate with animals. Days pass, training intensifies, and Rion grows close to Alex. But one night, danger comes knocking. The mansion is surrounded. Kelvin, Sarah, Clotho, and Rion ready themselves for battle. With the clairvoyance he learned from Phil, Kelvin sizes up the enemy forces. Realizing their enemies aren't as strong as expected, Kelvin asks Rion if she and Alex would be willing to take them on, even though Sarah and Clotho already volunteered. Both agree, prompting Kelvin to craft a clever plan to tip the battle in their favor. He boosts his detection and clairvoyance abilities to assist Rion, and hands her a special sword forged from the remnants of Cashel's soul. Meanwhile, the attacker's leader thirsts for revenge against our MC for capturing Christo. He orders his squad to storm the mansion. Determined to protect her new home, Ryan charges into battle, with our MC and Zara watching closely to judge the results of her training. With skill and courage, Ryan and Alex take down their foes. After the fight, our MC suggests Zara go talk to Rion while he handles the enemies still lurking in the shadows. Elsewhere, in Tristan's castle, Emperor Sel Tristan gathers his council to discuss the situation with Christo. General Dan Alba blames Tristan for exposing the nation's darkness, pointing out that Gaon, Thorak, and Daramis have forged an alliance. Sel sides with Dan, warning that their failed attempt to separate Tristan from Christo could spark a great war. Tristan, however, argues it would be advantageous after all. His group is the only one preparing while the rest remain at peace. Princess Jutora warns that uniting the continent under Tristan's rule isn't wise nor timely, since the other nations are far from weak. Asgard pushes for war, confident in the dragons under their control. The tension rises until Tristan says the final word belongs to General Clave, who inconveniently isn't present. Meanwhile, Jindalva grumbles about the grim mood at the Magic Knight's HQ, and sets out to inform General Clay of the Emperor's summons. Though uninterested, Clay agrees to follow the order. Back with our MC in Gon's southwestern forest peak, Kelvin explains they're searching for an elf village. Phil feels a strange sense of familiarity, which our MC explains comes from his elven blood. Zara is surprised there are elves in this part of the continent, and Melfina reveals they migrated from the west decades ago seeking refuge in Gon. During the conversation, Melvin delivers news on Traysen's response to being accused of the attacks. Traysen denies involvement, but suspicious troop movements at the border and slave purchases suggest political unrest. Leo warns our MC to stay alert. Traysen will likely strike again. He also mentions a job from the Beast King Leonard Gaunt, which could earn him a promotion to rank C. The group celebrates. Sarah asks about the royal permits needed to ascend, and Kelvin explains they have the Queen's approval but still need Leonard's flash, who wants to meet him due to his reputation. Suddenly, they're ambushed by elves. Kelvin quickly clarifies they're here by order of King Leonard, prompting Nelros, the village elder, to apologize and welcome them. Kelvin is shocked to find Lumen still alive. Before discussing the king's request, our MC insists on addressing the village's past, setting the stage for shocking revelations. Curious about Afiel after Nelra mistakes her for Lumel, our MC demands answers. Nelra recounts how 20 years ago, their peaceful life was shattered when the Fire Dragon King attacked after being shamed by an elf he'd never met. In the attack, half the village was wiped out, and Nelra himself was wounded. Lumil bravely fought the dragon, offering her life in exchange for the village's safety. She even agreed to marry the dragon, but years later her body was found in the forest. Fearing the dragon's return, the elves fled the continent in search of new lands. Zara speculates that if Nelra mistook Efiel for Lumil, she could be her daughter, meaning Efiel might be the Fire Dragon King's child. Gerard agrees, but Melfina shoots it down, explaining that half-elves are only born from a union between humans and elves. Dragon blood is simply too powerful. Ethel, despite knowing little about her past, feels at ease, surrounded by her new friends, her newfound family. They quickly shift focus to the mission assigned by the king. The village elder warns them of a mysterious barrier in the forest that disorients intruders but doesn't affect monsters. This revelation sparks Kelvin's suspicion he suspects there are abilities that can nullify such barriers. The elder also reveals that monsters have tried to kidnap elves repeatedly but have never launched a full assault, which unsettles Kelvin, who points out that monsters rarely show such organization. The elder laments that neither he nor Gaon's soldiers could stand up to the monsters. Undeterred, our MC's team pledges to protect the village. Kelvin requests permission to renovate the village and strengthen its defenses against the monster threat. That very night, monsters approach the village, led by a squad of half-demon soldiers. Their commander warns his army about a possible ambush. After all, they already defeated Gon's troops and are ready to execute General Tristan's plan. During their preparations, the soldiers discuss the rumored rank S collars used to control demons, said to have been acquired from a merchant who visited the castle. Suddenly, from the shadows, our MC and Phil launch a surprise attack. RMC has erected a tower and walls around the village, while Melfina conjures a false fog to hide their position, and Zera infuses the moat water with dark magic. Gerard is assigned as the last line of defense at the village gate, while the rest of the team sets out to capture the enemy leader. Cut to Tracen's headquarters, where a soldier returns with grim news. The entire advancing army has been wiped out. The deputy commander demands to know who attacked them and learns it was a group of adventurers so powerful that even rank B monsters couldn't stand against them. Alarmed, he orders the deployment of his secret weapon. At that moment, Melfina and Ryan arrive, prompting the deputy commander to awaken the giant lord, a massive, fearsome monster. Ryan, excited by its size, prepares to face it alongside Alex. The battle begins, but Rion's sword breaks while attacking Yajanor. Recognizing the danger, she unleashes her hero skill, Armadobel, targeting the monster's head with swords forged by Kelvin and Will. Alex wields another sword, enabling a triple blade assault. Together, Rion and Alex severely wound the giant lord, shocking the deputy commander, who orders the monster to transform. It reveals its true form, a fiery demon. Undeterred, Rion readies herself, and, recalling that her fire is less potent than Zera's, repeats her attack with fierce determination, ultimately defeating the giant, as she had previously done to Tracen's army. Our MC watches proudly as Rion grows stronger, but suddenly he's ambushed. Kelvin swiftly protects him, leaving Cliff and his army stunned they couldn't land a single hit. Cliff, thrilled by the power of this new enemy, also feels excited to see his new favorite elf, Ethel. However, when Cliff tries to cast a spell on her, Kelvin intervenes with a lightning-fast counterattack. Cliff mocks him, claiming Kelvin can't face the general of Tracen's magic knights. Enraged, our MC warns him to keep his hands off his girl and uses his keen eye to analyze Clay, discovering he's a reincarnated warrior with the unique skill Charming Gaze. Kelvin orders Phil to retreat to the village while he holds off the Magic Knight's army to buy time. Our MC conjures 4 obsidian spears to attack Clay, who blocks the assault. Undeterred, Kelvin unleashes more attacks, trying to penetrate Clay's hellish barrier that destroys everything it touches. Though his weapon resists, Clay is both surprised and satisfied to face such a formidable opponent. Cliff warns Clay to watch his back, but when surrounded, our MC uses his spear to defend himself. Cliff suggests surrendering, confident their numbers will win, but our MC laughs and launches a piercing attack through the hellish barrier, shaking Cliff's confidence. Revealing his golem, imbued with its own will, our MC balances the odds despite being outnumbered. Kelvin sends his golem to face Cliff in combat, demanding they spare Cly's servants. He wants to free them from their spell. The battle turns aerial as our MC and Cly clash, each showcasing their most powerful techniques. Cly's reckless attack hits her own allies, which infuriates our protagonist due to her careless behavior. Cliff just laughs it off, claiming that in this free-for-all duel, there are no rules. He notices that the reincarnated warrior actually enjoys the fight and has become addicted to the thrill of battle. Kelvin, however, calls out Cliff for his selfishness and lack of concern for others. Enraged by the damage he's taken, Cliff activates his hellish barrier to launch another assault. Even though his weapon breaks, our protagonist manages to wound him. Cliff vows to obliterate everything with his rank-ass magic. Our protagonist is stunned to see Cliff's power surpass even natural disasters. Cliff unleashes his devastating Tempest Barrier attack, which wreaks havoc on the forest and the elves alike, making the situation far worse. Kelvin asks Clodo to hand over her dark staff. Disaster. Determined to end their enemy once and for all, even if it means destroying the forest, slashes through Cliff's attack with his death scythe, dealing a heavy blow. Cliff screams in pain as he loses his legs and begs for mercy. Just as our protagonist prepares to finish him off, Cliff vanishes, replaced by a new foe. Tristan Faze, general of the half-demon army, reveals that he saved Cliff and masterminded the entire operation against the elves. Kelvin demands justice for Tristan's crimes and wants Cliff handed over, but Tristan refuses, insisting Cliff still serves a purpose. After some thought, Kelvin deduces that Cliff is just a summoned being, surprising Tristan, who decides it's time to retreat after his defeat. Cut to Itel explaining everything to Nelra. Upon hearing their enemies were defeated, the Elder orders a feast to celebrate and give thanks. Meanwhile, Melfina, Rion, and Saran compete to see who's the fastest, eager to be the first to earn Kelvin's praise. Rion, after inventing a new spell, wins the contest, earning compliments for her progress. Back at Tracen Castle, Cliff awakens chained by Tristan, who tells him his legs have been healed, but only so he can torture him with cursed weapons crafted by Gildora, claiming Cliff is the perfect reincarnated warrior. Our protagonist group enjoys the village feast, though Kelvin keeps his distance. Phil joins him, and our hero thanks her for knowing him, and promises to use his power to protect them all. Elfie arrives, showing an heirloom from her mother, Lumil, and expresses joy at discovering her origins. Kelvin happily places the heirloom in her hair. Elfie gratefully pledges to be his servant forever. Suddenly, their tipsy companions interrupt, coming to find them. An elven girl appears, thanking our protagonist and hugging him. Apologizing for being overly forward, she surprises everyone by revealing herself as Leonard Gaunt, the Beast King. Kelvin asks if she's really a girl, and Leonard clarifies she's just a shape-shifting object. Leonard announces that Kelvin passed his exam, ascending to rank S. In 4 days, a promotion ceremony will take place, where he must face 4 other rank S adventurers. Leonard also recommends he prepare for the upcoming national festival. This excites Kelvin, who eagerly looks forward to battling opponents of equal strength. And that's how this summary ends. If you made it this far, I'd really appreciate your subscription and a like, it helps a lot. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.